So how do we go about building a business in midlife? So maybe you're in your late 40s, 50s, and 60s, and you're thinking you want to start a business, you want to build a business, or maybe you did have a business and you're pivoting into something, a different business, like what I did, or you are in a career and you're thinking of starting a business and you are in midlife. This is what I want to talk to you about today. My name is Janet, and welcome to the Second Act Collective. So, here are some of the questions that we kind of go through is midlife and you're starting this new business is what should I actually build? I think these are questions we need to answer before we jump into the building of the business. And sometimes you have to build a business because you have to, right? You don't have time to really think about it. But we want to answer these kind of questions like, what should I build? Because there are different types of businesses, right? There are boutique businesses that people build that are really more family oriented. Yeah, a more lifestyle oriented is you're building this so that you have enough income for you to do the things you love, to travel maybe, or for you to save enough money for your retirement or for family. So they are more of a boutique lifestyle business. And a lot of times those businesses might not grow to be bigger than 10 million a year, if at all. Then there are businesses that people build to sell. Right? So if you're building like a software thing, maybe an app or whatever, you're building a computer business or SaaS, where you're developing all these apps or whatever you're building, but you're building it with the intention of selling the business or having someone else take over. So you're thinking this business is going to be bigger than just you and it's going to continue. So that's a whole different mindset of building than you would a boutique lifestyle thing. So if you're planning on selling your business and you're like, I want to sell this for 10 million, I want to sell this for 100 million, the way you're going to build that business is going to be very different than someone who's just building a business for lifestyle purposes. So you need to know what you are actually building. And in this video, I really want to cover the practical things of building a business. And in my other video, I talked about the mindsets that are required. But what are the practical things and things that we have to make in starting the business, right? And this is really from also my experience, because when I started my first business, I didn't really question or ask myself different things of how I wanted to build. It was simply out of survival mode. I wanted to be with my kids and I needed something that gave me the flexibility. Even though I've wanted to be an entrepreneur all my life, the way I built my first business was very different from how I'm building this business that I have right now. So, what some of the questions again, another question would be, what should I set my, how am I setting this up around my life? Because a lot of times your business can be your life, or your life is around the business. And what I think in midlife, what you want to do is try to make sure that your business is the one that is working for your life and not the other way around. And another question to ask is, what should I not do at this stage in my life? Because in midlife, you have a lot of different things going on in your life that are in responsibilities that are not like you're in your 20s or 30s, and you might not have as much responsibility. So, we are looking at this now, and I'm just going to be very high level about this, but we are looking at building the business, knowing the type of business we want to build, and even like how much do you want to make in a year. Because all these things determine the amount of energy, the amount of time, the amount of hustle, whatever it is that you're going to have to put into it. Right? So in midlife, what you want to do is really design something around the energy and not hustling. Right? So how many hours do you want to work? What kind of deeper work do you want to do there? Where's the recovery? Because your energy is not the same, right? So when you're building, you want to put all of this into consideration. Or if you're going to have to hustle for a number of years, how many can I do? How many years can I put into this hustling, working is hard? And what are you willing to sacrifice? Because your family, your health, all those things, they still have to be addressed. You're going to pay in some way or the other for whatever decision you make. So we want to design around the energy, around the capacity that we have, and be very honest about it. What is my capacity in this season of life? Because we are really also designing around the season that we are in, which is very different from when you're young. I keep saying this because I I think it's important to just know that. So something else we're doing, we're choosing, back to the model, we're choosing the right model for midlife in knowing what is enough for you. What is the amount of money you want to make, and what is enough? What is the amount of money you want to make if you are looking to make the impact, if you are looking to leave an inheritance? I think it's important to know all those things. How much do you want to make? What is the right business model for where you are with your health, with what's going on in your life, with this season of life in midlife? So that with the, well, what is your leverage, right? Is it labor? You're going to have to employ other people to help you so that you can take the time that you want to travel, to do whatever. Are you going to create simple offers that doesn't take a lot of your energy? Are your products going to be simple where they can run on themselves? Let's say you develop an app, and are you going to have people help you with that, so that you are not so involved? Or are you involved in the beginning and then you can pull yourself out? Like, all those things are things that we tend not to think about, but I think they're important to think about. They're decisions that we really have to make as we are starting the business. And this is not to say, stop what you're doing and don't pursue the business. These are things that you want to think about as you're working towards starting the business. So we're not procrastinating, doing anything. We are going to, if we feel like we want to start this thing, we're going to take the steps to starting the business. But in the process, before this thing grows into an elephant that you don't know what you build and you're not regretting, you can then start to decide, as you're starting the business, start to think about these things. What is the model that I want? Do I want, fewer clients, but maybe high paying clients, and I'm not dealing with a lot of people? What do I want? Do I want to travel for the business, and what does that look like? Like, you are to design with, again, the season you're in, and what you want to accomplish, and how you want your life to look, and what kind of capacity you have. And sometimes you might have to, a lot of times, starting in midlife, we have to start small, right? You might have to really start smaller than what you think. So you might start with pilot projects. You might start with consultancy, smaller projects. You might start just MVPs if you're working on an app. Like, what is the most viable products you can put in the market and test it out? Now, these are things that you want to do, and you're starting small. So it may not be like a big rollout of business, but you're probably going to start small. And what does that look like? And also, you're going to be okay with that, right? That you're starting small because you are maybe starting in a new industry, right? For what I'm doing, which is the apps that I want to develop, I know I'm going to, I have to learn a lot of things there. And I'm going to start very small, starting with my own stuff that I'm working on, testing those out, trying them out, giving them to friends. Like, you are going to start small a lot of times. And something else we want to be very clear about is we're starting this business is cash flow, right? Cash flow that you need to function as you're starting the business, right? How much money do you need just for your day-to-day things that you are for your life? So if you had a career before you're starting a business, do you have some money put aside to at least be okay for your needs while you're building this? Because what happens with cash flow when you're starting a new business, you're not going to just start and be profitable the first few months, especially if you're starting small, right? So we have to be very clear about that cash flow issue, because it might take you a year or two to really get to a place where your business is now sustaining you. There's enough money coming. for you to live off of while, because the business is doing well. And that if it takes you a year or 2 years, 3 years, that's a long time. So the cash flow understanding has to be there. And also the understanding that you're not probably going to make a lot of money in the business, probably in the first year. And you do hear people talk about, you want to make 1 million in a year, and you can. Just revenue itself does not actually mean profit. It does not mean that's your take home money. And I wish people would talk about this more. But this is one thing that I found out just coming onto the online space, because my business was offline, was, a brick and mortar kind of business before. And having the financial background that I have an MBA in finance and stuff. Just understanding, just because somebody's loud about the revenue does not actually mean they are making that much money. Just because you're saying you have, revenue 7 figures, does not mean that's what we are taking home. Does not mean your business is profitable, because there are expenses, there are taxes, there are all these other things that you need for a business to run, that really take away from that revenue. So understanding that as you're going into business, what that looks like. Because I think a lot of people who have not been entrepreneurs, and I'll probably have a video about this, what happens is we go into business because we hear, well, you can make 7 figures, you can make this, you can make whatever in a year, you can make, and which is all good and true, you can. But then once you've removed the expenses and the taxes and anything else, you're like, oh, yeah, what happens is, actually, first and foremost, you'll be shocked, right, with how much money is left. And then the other thing is like, oh, I don't even have enough money to pay taxes. And this is a big thing that a lot of new entrepreneurs get into. They realize, I made all this money, but I actually don't have money for taxes, because you're not managing the money, the business money. You're not aware of the expenses that come with having a business. And there goes my alarm again. So all these things are things to be considered as you are, starting in your business. I'll probably do a video on just, managing revenue in a business and stuff. And if you're interested in more about business finance, please put in the comments, and I can see if I can do a video about that. But these are things that come into starting a business, having a business. You need those kind of understanding. Having basic understanding of business finance is very good, so that you're not shocked at the end of the year that you made all this money and you're left with nothing. And also cash flow stuff comes into, so that you don't overbuild, right? Because you can throw in a lot of money in a business, and then it's just flops and there's no money. So we want to understand all those, that we are not just throwing money in the business and we are overbuilding, or we are overbuilding that we get into debt. There's a lot of things that happens when you overbuild a business, and it's growing faster than we can actually manage it. So those are things to think about. And then what other boundaries are you going to put into your business in this midlife season you're in? In terms of availability, when do you want to be available? In terms of communication, in terms of the pace of how fast you want to grow this business. Again, if you're growing the business for you to sell in 5 years, it's a very different pace than if you're just growing your boutique thing that's going to sustain you and your family. A very different path altogether. And something else, I would say the last thing I want to address here about the things to kind of look out for when you're building a business is, in this midlife, you want the business to fit your life. Right? So before, for some of us, we build the business, our lives were kind of fitting into the business in some way. But you are wanting, at least you should want, not should, but I think something to consider is that you want the business to fit your life and not the other way around. Because there are health issues we are looking into. There is family obligations we have. There is a personal rhythm and the things that your body is going through, especially if you're a woman, that needs to be considered. So we want to try and really make this into, what can I say, into a place where the business is fitting our lives. We are considering more for our lives the way the season we're in, and then having the business fit into that, so that we are happier, less in a survival mode, less in a frantic thing, and really building a business that goes with our lives. And because in midlife as well, you now know what you want. You've made the mistakes. You have, not that you're not going to make more mistakes. I'm just saying you've made a lot of mistakes to know the kind of person you are, to know your capacity, to know, the boundaries you have. You have more knowledge of yourself than you would, when you're in your 20s. So we want to be able to build a business that will fit into our lives. These are kind of the things, just practical things that we want to look at, because we are looking at, we're in a very different stage of life, and our needs, our capacity, our energy, our priorities and values have changed. And we want our businesses to look that way. And we are very clear about the type of business we're building. And I think having that clarity first helps, because then you can then align yourself to, okay, I am building something to sell. It might mean you are hustling for the next 5 years. Am I ready for that? Or I'm building something is a lifestyle business. The hustle might be, less, and it might not make you as much money as you want. But I think just being clear is good. When you're clear about things, it is very good. So that's really what I wanted to share with you regarding starting a business in midlife. Is how do we, what does that look like? What are the things to consider, so that you're not just building something haphazardly that you then, want to throw out the window, because you find yourself in a place where, like, I probably built the wrong thing and I don't like what I have. So we're trying to avoid all those mistakes. So if you find this helpful, please share with your friends. And if you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And yeah, I would love for you to join our community. We have a community for women who are over 40s, where we do discuss all these things: the business, the life, the womanhood, anything to do with you. We discuss here as we are transitioning into the second chapter. So I look forward to seeing you again. I'll talk to you soon.